Browns play-by-play voice Andrew Siciliano about reading into the quarterback competition at this time of the year, and just a word of warning.
The reporting of what happens in OTAs breathlessly and somehow using that to determine on a show, which is what we're doing right now, understandably, somehow determining right now who's going to start week one is beyond foolish. Mm-hmm. It is so foolish. It is June 3rd. Yeah. Okay? It is June 3rd. Well, take the Browns, for example. They have a joint practice with the Eagles. They have a joint practice with the Panthers. They have 3 preseason games that this year truly do mean something. Truly do. Let it play out. They will each, those rookie quarterbacks, and Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco, they will each have a moments to shine.
Everybody's going to get their chance. And, it's kind of interesting. We haven't had a quarterback competition, if you will. So I think that's part of it. There's 4 guys. Everybody seems to have a favorite. That's part of it. There's so many different parts as to why everybody wants to know, well, who's going to be the quarterback of the Browns?
Well, it's not just a quarterback competition. I mean, it's a 4-man quarterback competition. I mean, usually we see it between 2 guys, maybe 3. I don't know how many times we've seen a 4-man quarterback competition. So, yeah, I think at this point, you're just trying to look for anything that kind of puts a clue out there of, who's going to be, who's in the lead, who's trailing, who's making up ground. And I think, like Andrew said, let's take it to training camp. Let's take it to padded practices. Let's take it into a preseason game or 2, or the joint practices to kind of see how it really stacks up. Because at this point, they're still trying to figure out, the scheme and getting quarterbacks getting adjusted to receivers, getting timing down and those sorts of things. That's kind of what this is, essentially. It's a suit-out passing camp going into mandatory minicamp in next week. So, yeah, it's way too early. I mean, again, we got to get into the grind of training camp. And, when that type of stuff gets going, when the practices keep ramping up, when, the physicality goes up with the pads, and of course, speaking back to the physicality that we talked about with adding Mason Graham and Carson Schweitzer, that tells you that I would imagine this could be a more physical camp. And in those situations, when the pads come on and when that intensity ramps up, that's where I feel like the cream in the quarterback competition could start to rise up as far as who goes in and tries to win that job.
Yeah, and the one thing is there's, and I'm sure you hear it, I hear it all the time, people feeling like Shadour's not getting a fair chance, Kenny Pickett's not getting a fair chance, Dylan Gabriel's not getting a fair chance. However badly a fan thinks they want quarterback X to do well, Kevin Stefanski needs to find a quarterback. If he finds a quarterback, he has a job here for a long time making millions of dollars. He wants a quarterback more than any fan possibly could.
100%. I mean, his job is directly tied to whether or not, any of these quarterbacks, particularly one of the 2 they drafted, turns out to be successful. I mean, if you come out of the season, you find that Dylan Gabriel or Shadur Sanders is your potential long-term starter. I mean, that gives you so much ability to go into the future and have the ability to really turn this franchise back to where I think we all thought it was going to be when Baker Mayfield led the Browns to a playoff win in 2020. And certainly the goal, obviously, for any team is to win as many games as possible. Obviously, it's going to be difficult with the start of the season, but ultimately the coach has to weigh his starter on who, like you said at the beginning, who gives them the best chance to win in any particular game. And again, with the way the season's starting, with the way the schedule is lined up, I think that gives an advantage to the veterans, just because they need to kind of hit the ground running to really build, to show that 3-14 last season was an aberration and that they're closer to a team that maybe doesn't make the playoffs, but closer to that team we saw in 2023 that did make it to the playoffs. So I think getting at least to that end of the spectrum, I think should be the goal, the ultimate goal. And Kevin Stefanski is going to be the guy who tries the hardest to find the quarterback that gets him there.